I hesitated today before I thought of putting this video online, but I feel compelled to. The reason I hesitated is that I didn't want to come from a place of arrogance or self-importance, but from a place of a deep desire, with all humility, to help, to create the pandemic of joy that I've always wanted to, or help create the pandemic of joy. You can't do it alone. And also because as I watch the news every day, I'm very distressed. And today was even more distressing. Wherever you look, there is war, there's conflict, there's terror, there is death, there is tragedy, there is suffering, and immense violence. Right now, the news is full of what China will do if the US supports Taiwan, what the Russians will do, including use nuclear options if they lose to Kyiv or to Ukraine. There's conflict, obviously, in Israel and Gaza, although it is not a mainstream discussion right now because other conflicts have taken over. There are problems in Iran, there are problems in Afghanistan, there's a Muslim-Hindu conflict in India. There is a lot of violence in Latin America. We have become creatures of violence. So with deep humility, I'm making an offer right now to all world leaders everywhere in the world. And the offer is coming from the Chopra Foundation, which has aspired for over 35 years to reach a critical mass for a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, and joyful world. So I'd like, first of all, everyone to ask themselves, especially in areas where there is a lot of conflict, including our own country, the US, the extreme polarization between the right and the left, between the Democrats and the Republicans. I'd like everyone to ask themselves, what if these conflicts continued for the next 5 years? Where would we be economically, in terms of health, in terms of our own biological and environmental sustainability, in terms of social and economic and racial and ethnic and gender justice, in terms of our health, and in terms of our emotional well-being, joy or suffering. So ask yourself, if the conflict continued, what would happen? Okay, ask yourself, what would happen to my children? Would they get a good education? Would they feel safe and secure? Would they have creative expression? Would they have opportunities for greater accomplishment and material success? Would they experience joy in their life? Would they have prosperity? And that's not only true of your children, grandchildren, it's true about yourself as well. So first we should ask those questions, and then we should choose. Either we choose peace, which leads to prosperity, and everything else, peace, prosperity, justice, sustainability, health, joy, accomplishment, the aspirations that we all have, the fulfillment of our dreams. What would happen if there was peace and prosperity? It's obvious, right? So the fact that we still resort to the reptilian brain to solve our problems, still resort to violence. I mean, I was looking at the bombing in Ukraine this morning, and I felt a lot of pain. lot of pain in my heart. What did these innocent people do to die? Okay. There are two ideological communities led by, obviously, leaders who represent their ideological stance. Communism, capitalism, right wing, left wing. It's a stance. And all conflicts are ultimately ideological. That means they're a war of ideas. They're a war of worldviews. I think you can still maintain your worldview and resolve conflicts and then actually hope for peace and prosperity and health and joy. And there are well-known techniques to do this. With humility, I offer these to all world leaders on behalf of the Chopra Foundation. Okay. I'll just go over the principles right now, but anyone in the world who's interested at a leadership level, whether it's a nation or a political party or a business organization, but right now the urgency is leaders of the world. Anyone who's interested, the Chopra Foundation will do everything to help you get there. Okay, but now just a few basic principles. Number one, respect. To start a conversation, a creative, imaginative solution, not an old, barbaric solution, which is violence. Violence is a failure of our creativity and imagination. So, number one principle, treat your adversary with respect. If you don't, you lose them in the first moment, in the first minute. There's nothing more outrageous than feeling humiliated and not respected. And actually, lack of respect is the number one reason we have all these conflicts in the world, in addition to ideological disagreements. Number two, recognize whether it's true or not, but there is the perception of injustice on both sides. Otherwise, there's no conflict. Number three, be courageous enough to ask for forgiveness for any perceived trespasses and be willing to forgive. All these, by the way, there are processes. Number four, refrain from belligerence. Either you're on our side or you're not on our side. Choose. No, belligerence never gets you anywhere. It's a lack of emotional integration, lack of creativity, lack of imagination. Number five, understand emotional intelligence, how to get in touch with your feelings, how to get in touch with the feelings of the other, how to speak in a way that is non-violent, what we call conscious communication, inspired by the work of Marshall Rosenberg. What am I observing? What am I feeling? What do I need? How do we fulfill each other's needs? Okay, so emotional intelligence, empathy, but also managing your emotions, understanding the emotions of the other, and communicating consciously about our basic needs to each other with vulnerability. Okay. Number six, understanding each other's values. And if you look at the values of all these countries, Iran, Iraq, which was originally Babylon, the Garden of Eden, look at the cultural values of Russia with great artists, poets, and philosophers and scientists. I mean, I can't even think of so many geniuses that have come from Russia, from Dostoevsky to, remarkable poets and philosophers. But it's true of every country. Afghanistan gave us Rumi. Okay. And all these different cultural islands have a lot to offer to each other and to create a new world culture. exchanging ideas on cuisine, on fashion, on music, on poetry, on celebration, on rituals, on holidays, on actually the greatest impact that humanity's had from these diverse cultures. The greatest impact is cultural. Okay. And the more we exchange our cultural values, our vision, our rituals, our holidays, our celebration, and also what we experience in times of innocence when we were children, the more deeper understanding there is of each other values, because human values ultimately are the same. Okay, our longing for everything from insight, intuition, imagination, creativity, archetypal consciousness, and transcendence, and the sanctity of our being as souls, as spirits. Okay, so 6 would be exchanging values. 7 would be refrain from proving the other person wrong. They might actually be wrong, but when you prove them to be wrong, then they get belligerent, okay, and they want to prove that you are wrong. Okay, so understand rather than insist on being right. 7, yeah, or 6 or whatever. The next is understand that fear is the basis of conflict on both sides. Fear is the basis of conflict on both sides. And the last here is refrain from ideological debates, because if you belong to a camp with a particular ideological mindset and somebody else belongs to another ideological camp, then, trying to bring them over to your camp ideologically is not going to work. A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. Okay, those are the 9 basic rules. And they are part of something that I and the Chopra Foundation have been very involved in, called the Soul of Leadership. Okay, and that too is an acronym, Soul of Leadership, LEADERS. Look and listen, create a vision, and then shared vision, maximum diversity, complementing each other's strengths, and emotional and spiritual bonding will solve any problem. So number 1, create your vision, whatever the vision is. Okay. So, but that vision comes from deep listening to the collective cultural conversation that is happening right now. Okay. And the problems that we all have, okay, as a global culture, conflict, unsustainability, racial, economic, gender, and other kinds of injustice. So we have all that, an unsustainable planet and all of that. But here it is. If we collectively come together, a new reality will emerge. So look, listen, create a vision. E, already discussed. Emotional intelligence. A, expand our awareness from beyond the fight-flight response and reactive response to the restful awareness response, the intuitive response, the creative response, the visionary response, and the sacred response. A. D, LEAD. D, dream, but do it. Create smart goals. Stretch more than you can reach, make everything measurable, have an agreement amongst yourselves and with your so-called adversaries on what the goals are, set time limits, and stretch more than you can reach. SMART. Keep a record and set a time limit. Okay, so dreaming and doing. E again, empowerment. Empower yourself at the level of spirit and those who work with you. We are beneath no one, we are fearless, and we are independent at this moment of the harsh criticism of our adversaries. Only then can we have true empowerment and self-esteem. R, take responsibility for your health, for your well-being, and for your joy, and for the integration of mind, body, spirit, and the world as an unified experience. And S, my favorite, synchronicity, good luck, being at the right place at the right time. Right now is the moment for synchronicity. LEADERS. Look and listen, emotional intelligence, expanding awareness, dreaming and doing, empowerment, taking responsibility, and good luck, which is opportunity mating preparedness, which we call synchronicity, and the moment is now. So, dear world leaders and dear leaders everywhere, take us on the Chopra Foundation to help you resolve conflict in your community, in your nation, and in the world. With deep humility, I offer this on behalf of the Chopra Foundation. I needed to express that. Thank you so much.